Hello everybody, welcome to this special Dirt 5 video with Chris. I'm community manager for Dirt 5 and I'm joined by somebody very special from the Dirt 5 team, Phil Maggs. Phil, welcome along. Could you just quickly introduce yourself and tell everybody what role you have to play on the Dirt 5 team?
My name's Phil. I'm part of the Dev QA team for Dirt 5. I've been responsible for looking after playgrounds for the last 2 years. So in that time, I've had a lot of time to kind of, make and iterate many playgrounds as the builds have changed over time. I think that's about it.
Yeah, fantastic. And you've alluded to it. We're here to have a special look at playgrounds, and you are as closely involved on that as anybody is on the team.
Yeah.
And you've made a bit of a reputation as a brilliant creator and a real sort of a bit of a creative genius about how to put together playgrounds, which is this massive new feature for Dirt 5 that we haven't seen before in the series. If there's anybody that's watching this that hasn't got into playgrounds yet, or is yet to get into Dirt 5 and hasn't checked out the new modes, could you just maybe give like an introduction to what Playgrounds in Dirt 5 is all about?
So Playgrounds is it's basically just a place where you can make any idea that you want to make. So if you've got an idea for a track, or you've seen something somewhere, or you just want to, you've played Dirt 5 but you think, I wish there was some more of this, or a little more of something else like ramps, or basically it's a limitless place where you can just build whatever you want to build. And we do that by just placing various pre-made objects, and you can just kind of create what you want. It is just a big sandbox for players to just kind of let loose and have fun, really. There's a couple of different modes. We've got Gate Crasher, where you can make time trial style events. We've got Gymkhana, so you can make the classic collecting score for doing trick objects. And we also allow you to make something called Smash Attack mode, which basically is almost the most free form of all. It allows you to collect, you can place down objects in your arena that people can trigger these, collect score, and they have to reach a certain score in order to finish the game. It's just a big open sandbox, really.
Yeah, and the best part of it is all players are able to, when they finish making these playgrounds, upload them and share them with the world, and let everybody else play on them. And each playground has its own leaderboard that people can set their times on against the world and challenge yourself with every other player. But so that's more of the online and the publishing and the playing side of things. But the reason that we wanted to talk to you is about that creational side.
Yeah.
Because you've been able to create, because you've been so involved in the project and you've got obviously a really creative mind. You've been able to create some amazing playgrounds that we've been featuring from launch and encouraging players to play, because they've really stood out as some awesome creations that we wanted to show off. And I think we just wanted to really see if we could get some tips from you for players who are new to the mode, to see if it might help with them with the early stages of creation. Because I think as with my role, I'm talking to players all the time, and I often hear that they're really interested in the mode and enjoying it, but some players are almost because, like you said, there's so many blocks and options, and there's this endless there's endless options available to players. It can almost be a little bit intimidating, because it's like, where do I start? Where do you go from? So just because there's so many options available, so starting is often the hardest part. Do you have any tips for kicking off that process of making a playground? Like, where do you start? How do you identify a starting point to create a playground and go into it from there?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I think the first thing I try to come up with is just a basic idea of what I think I want to include in this playground. So I might think of some kind of concept like a huge jump, or I want to make a crazy playground on different vertical platforms, or maybe I want to make a track where people can drive on the walls, or something like that. I try and come up with some goal that I think I want to start first, and that is kind of easier said than done. I think a great place for inspiration sometimes is just to get stuck in. I think a lot of the time we think, let's come up with a completely original new idea, but often new ideas, or there isn't really new ideas, they're just kind of a collection of ideas in our own mind that we've built up and kind of thrown them into this kind of, like this mental tumble dryer, where we have all these experiences and things we've experienced in the past, or games we've played, and then we try and build something from there. So I think if you're struggling, don't be afraid to just pop on Discover and have a play of some other playgrounds. Get a feel for what you like and what you dislike. Is there something out there that you liked but you thought you could do better? Or I don't know, maybe look at some real world racing tracks or things that you've seen in other games and maybe try and reproduce it, and add your own kind of spin to it. I think that's a great place to start for, getting some inspiration.
That's a good shout, yeah. And even at this point, there are already there's been thousands of published playgrounds on our database that you can access on any platform, and you can just see for yourself what kind of things players are coming up with. I've done exactly the same thing. I've wanted to create a playground and thought, I don't know where to start here. I'm lacking a bit of a creative spark, and I'll go into Discover, and we have regularly updated featured areas where you can check out some of the playgrounds that we've handpicked as some of the best that have been designed over the last week or month, which are really good starting points. And then there's like a custom search tool where you can use you can search for a certain keyword or a certain type of playground, like a different event type, and you can find something specific that you're looking for. And like you said, yeah, it can really trigger your imagination, can't it? And I think the other thing that a lot of players, including myself, have found handy as well is the option to test. So it's not, Playgrounds isn't a case of you get one attempt to try something, and if it doesn't work, you have to start from scratch. When you're designing a playground, you have the option at any point to pause and to hit the test button and to go in and try something. So you can build something over time and make sure that things work correctly and go back and try something again using the test function. I imagine that's something that you find really useful during the process.
Yeah, definitely. Test is definitely something. Just start by making small parts of the track. Don't think about, trying to make the entire track all at once. Just start with something small and then test it. If you think it works, go ahead with it. If you think, oh no, it doesn't quite work, or it wasn't as good as I thought it was, or perhaps my car's tumbling over, it's not working as a plan, just build that little bit again. And once you're happy with it, you can move on to the next part.
Yeah, you're right. And it often comes down to which car you decide to use as your chosen kind of playground as well. So when you're designing a playground, you choose before it's published which one car out of Dirt5's database of cars will be used for all players on that playground. And obviously the performance, the speed, the weight, and all the characteristics of that car will dictate, how far apart your gaps should be in your jumps, or how long a speed section should be, or how easy it is to do donuts or spins in a Gymkhana event. So I don't know if you've been going through, when you've been designing playgrounds, you'll choose different cars and different classes. Have you got any preferences or any recommendations of classes and cars that you find are a perfect fit when you're designing certain types of playgrounds?
They all have different pros and cons. It is a good shout actually about once you've chosen a car at the beginning, just kind of stick with that car and keep working with that car. I think as you start to change the car, as different cars have different characteristics, some are faster, some have more grip. Like you were saying, sometimes you might achieve a ramp, or you make a gap and you make a ramp over a large gap. Some cars will make that gaps and some cars won't. When it comes to which is the best car for which, I think actually the trucks are better with bumps. So if you want to make lots of jumps and things like that, the trophy trucks, the rock bouncer, the extreme off-road, these are all classes of car that deal well with those kind of things. If you want to make, say, a much more flat playground, maybe you want to make more of a racetrack or something like that, then it'd be good to try any of the 80s, 90s rally, or the rallycross. The rallycross are the highest performing cars. I think they are the fastest class in the game. I might be mistaken on that, don't hold me to that, but the thing to watch out for with something like the rallycross is that car can be so fast that if you put a jump, you might just completely fly off to the other end of the arena, and you'll just smash into the wall or something like that. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's usually where I start.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is incredible. You'd have known this for a while, but just the pure variety that's available to players in playgrounds, the kind of things you can come up with. And I think what's really interesting to me is that there are some fantastic people will create like a Gatecrasher event with 30 to 40 checkpoints in these really, really long events, which are great, and we featured a lot of those, and they're really, really fun to play. But then at the same time, I've seen 15, 20-second Gatecrasher events that just have a one idea or one feature that's genius, that's really, really clever, that is almost like addictive to go back and perfect and knock a tenth of a second off or thread the needle to get it exactly right. So it's not all about filling up a playground with as many items as you possibly can and making the most complex thing. If you don't want to do that, if you want to do that, absolutely fantastic. But even if you just want to create something short and sweet, you can do that with playgrounds because of the options available to you in a way that is entertaining and fun. And we've seen a lot of playgrounds that are our most popular that will be only 20 to 30 seconds long. So that's an option too, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I do think those smaller, sometimes the simplest idea is sometimes the best, just the small tracks. So tracks like Hit and Run, which I think James, one of our designers here, made. It was such a simple, I think it's only about 40 seconds long, and it's a smash attack level where you have a selection of routes you can take through these fences, and you usually you can aim for any of the green ones, but if you hit a red one, you get a penalty. And it's basically just one left, almost like one right turn. You pick these little gates that you want to go through, you turn round, you pick some more gates, and that's it. And yet it was one of the most popular internally. We had so many leaderboard entries for people in the studio. It's so simple that people kind of think, I just want to give it another go. It's only 40 seconds, or I'll just give it one more go. And before you know it, people start really getting dragged into the whole idea of just repeating it over and over again, just trying to get into that time trial competitive, that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked quite a lot about Gatecrasher events and Smash Attack events, but what about Gymkhana? So from my experience and from playing other players' amazing creations, making a Gymkhana playground can often be a totally different process to Gatecrasher and Smash Attack, because it's not about plotting one particular route from start to finish. It's about placing items in such a way that allows players to perform tricks around those objects and maintain a flow so they can chain things together. So that's a bit of a different mindset you have to take into creating a Gymkhana playground. So what different approaches do you take whenever you've made a Gymkhana arena? Do you just think about things a little bit differently when you're putting an arena together? So
whilst I think Gymkhana isn't totally my forte, I do think there are some tips that are quite helpful for making that type of event. So that the first thing I can say is think about how the objects are arranged and how they work. So for example, things like a donut object, you start at one point, you do 360 degrees around the object, and then you exit 360 degrees later. So once you reach that 360 degree point, as you've done a full rotation, where are you and what are you looking at? So that's when you test that. And like we said before, testing is a great way to go through this. Think about putting something directly in front of the player that leads them onto the next object. So you can use like the pink smashable objects, which are a great way to kind of lead people between the different obstacles, different point scoring objectives. And the thing is, another thing to think about is the score multiplier, because it can multiply 3 times. You want to keep trying to put the pink smashables are a great way to break up. You'll do the spin zone, and then you'll do some smashables, and then you'll do a donut object. And because you're doing a different object each time, you keep adding to that score multiplier. And I think that's something that, people who are, really enjoy Gymkhana events, that's something they're always aiming for, so they can get their combo meter as high as possible and start scoring those big points. So it's about thinking about how to lead a player from one object to another.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some really good examples of that if players go back into other modes of the game, like career. So there are Gymkhana events that feature in career mode, and those Gymkhana playgrounds are made by the team, made by you guys, made by the Dirt 5 team, and they make full use of those things that you're saying, that they place items in such a way that they allow players to be kind of given options of where to go next and to maintain momentum. So yeah, if for Gymkhana in particular, if you're ever struggling for a bit of inspiration or some tips on how to put something together that's really enjoyable and really successful when it comes to publishing it and seeing how many people playing it, diving into some of those that are in career mode is a good alternative too, as well, isn't it? Yeah,
sure. As I say, just playing the game, just checking out Discover, but yeah, also checking out career mode, and just get inspired to think, what worked well, what did you enjoy, what didn't you enjoy, Is there a particular way? And it is a good example to see how we've actually built some of our arenas. So if you think, well, how have they made that platform there? And then just kind of see what objects that have been used, because it's exactly the same palette of objects that you guys can use in the Playground Create mode. So if there's a particular platform or a construction or something like that that you think that's really cool, you can easily try and replicate that in your own playgrounds and see how that works for you.
Right. So we've said that you're a keen Playgrounds creator, and that players should take inspiration from playgrounds that have been published if they're looking for ideas of what to create themselves. So give us some examples. What are your personal highlights in terms of some of the playgrounds that you've made that people can search up on our Playgrounds database to give people some inspiration? I think there's a lot of ones that we featured that we think are really, really cool and have already got loads of plays, but can you think of any off the top of your head that you've created that you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm pleased with how that came out, and that could really help some players find some inspiration?
So for me, like the main ones I think everyone's already familiar with. There's Speed Helix, there's Velamax, and recently there was a festive playground uploaded called You'll Be Sorry, which is kind of a play on the word Yule. We thought it was funny at the time. But for me, the different thing for me is because I've been fortunate enough to be on the Dirt 5 team for 2 years, and I've built many playgrounds, and as the mode changes and the objects become redundant and the mode changes, and then we scrap playgrounds and I start a new one, I've been able to kind of refine ideas that I liked and get rid of things that I didn't. So the final, whilst I've only got about 3 playgrounds that I'm kind of happy with at the moment and are uploaded and everyone can try those, they're kind of an accumulation of loads of things that I've enjoyed out of my previous playgrounds, if that makes sense. So they are kind of, it's almost like a best of, if that makes sense, a best of the collection.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that shows that there are different ways of going about, sort of circling back to what we were saying earlier, there are different ways of going about designing a playground. If you want to do something that's quick and just fun and just something off the top of your head, that's fine. There is the capability to do that within playgrounds. You can quickly throw something together that is fun and will get some, as long as it is fun and you can replay it, then that will get some attention. But if you want to as well, you can be really detailed and painstaking about how to put a playground together. And the something that players have commented on a lot since they've got their hands on the game is the memory limit for playgrounds is incredibly high. So if you are that kind of player who wants to create something really detailed and really design something that pushes the memory limits of something like Playgrounds to its limits, then you've got so much possibility there, because the limit to how many items you can put into a playground is so high, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and especially on the smaller arenas. I think on something like Cape Town, which has an actual ceiling of height that you can build to, I think you could literally probably just fill it with blocks without ever reaching the memory limit. And the only time you could actually get close to that is on the largest arena size and just building lots of big blocky structures, or adding loads of barrels and things like that, loads of smashable objects. That's another way. But yeah, there's plenty of memory to, plenty of ability to create what you want.
Yeah, and so beginning to sort of wrap things up, I've spoken to a lot of members of the Dirt 5 team, and despite us all, having eyes on a mode like Playgrounds for months and months now, and really understanding it and what it's capable of, we've still been blown away by how creative some of our community have been. A lot of our community have been with Playgrounds, designing things that have completely caught us by surprise, and we thought, we never even thought of doing something like that. And it's really awesome to see. I imagine that you kind of share that feeling as somebody who's been so closely involved with Playgrounds. It offers so much possibility and customization that our community is continuing to just come up with some amazing stuff, and we've no doubt that other players who haven't even got into it yet, who are thinking, I don't know if this is something that's I can really get into, I don't know if I'm capable of making something that you really can, because there is so much possibility and customization in there to come up with something cool. I'm sure you've seen some amazing stuff that you wouldn't have even thought of before we launched the game.
Yeah, definitely. One of the standout tracks for me, I think it was called Wall Ride Havoc by Snake 55 Wildcat, I think, on the PlayStation. I think it's on the PSN. I think he mentioned that in the community Discord, and he was showing people the playground. And the first time I think we saw that, we were kind of thinking, why have we not thought of that ourselves in 2 years? I mean, we'd used walls before by putting them on the edge of ramps. So as the car comes up the ramp, you could put a wall behind it. So you've just got a little bit of runoff to turn the car back down towards the ramp again. But to actually put that wall on a corner, so it's constantly turning, and the momentum of the car is pushing the car to the wall, and you're essentially just going around in these circles. Like when we first saw that, I don't think anyone had even thought of that in the studio. So yeah, sometimes you do see things and it's like, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's one of my favorite things about what I do, is just seeing what our community are creating all the time and just being completely blown away. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up then, so as a keen creator of Playgrounds, as somebody who's been closely involved in the mode from its inception, really, any final pointers to first time Dirt 5 players or first time Playgrounds players? Any final pointers on what it takes to create the most fun and exciting Playgrounds? I think for me it's a case of let your imagination run wild and don't be afraid to try different things, and just go through a process of trial and error until you find something that you think is awesome, because the mode allows you to do that. But from your perspective, final points or ideas for first time users on creating the ultimate playground, I guess?
Yeah, I think like you've said, definitely test. Start small. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Just get stuck in and just keep trying, keep giving it a go. Always think about extreme things that people love. So like big ramps, airtime, big skids, smashing into loads of smashable objects. The big amplified things that you can do in Playgrounds. Think of doing something like that for people. Think about making the playground. Think about people that have never played it before, or are people who are new to Playgrounds. Don't necessarily jump straight to trying to make, Dark Souls Incarnate or something, or try to just, think of people who aren't as good at the game. Make it accessible if you can. Try and think about flow. Don't have too many points where you might snag or spin out or get points of frustration. Just try and think, how can I wow people? How can I impress someone in the first 20 seconds of playing? Is it a big jump or loads of fiery objects or something? Just just let loose and try and enjoy yourself.
Brilliant. Couldn't put it better myself. And so if you're watching this and you're a first time Dirt 5 player, you haven't played Playgrounds before, and you're now sort of inspired a bit to create something, then absolutely feel free to upload a video and share it to us. We've got links in the description of this video to our official Discord, to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all our usual social channels. Feel free to send anything our way. We're always looking to share and promote the most incredible creations, so we can't wait to see what you come up with. We actively do Playgrounds of the Week and Playgrounds of the Month, like monthly and weekly competitions to show some of the best creations. So we'll show those on our social channels, but we will also feature them in game in the Discover area. So if you create something that really catches our eye, we will actively go and feature it every week. So yeah, we can't wait to see what you guys come up with if you're a first time Playgrounds player. And Playgrounds is available in Dirt 5, which is out now for Xbox Series X and Xbox One, PS5 and PS4, and on PC. So yeah, we can't wait to see what you make of Playgrounds if you're a first time player. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the track. Cheers.